Hello Medophapa, thank you for joining me today. Today's recipe is some pork shoulder steak served with some herby boiled potatoes and some veggies in sauce. So let's get straight into it. So to make the seasoning for the pork shoulder steak, I'm using After Village Kitchen's 10 spice blend, which contains natural spices like aniseed, rosemary, ginger powder, garlic powder, black pepper, so many things. And I'm also adding in some kebab powder, which is consists of some nuts and some Ghanaian traditional spices. It's really nutty and spicy. And then I'm also adding to the 7 spice blend, which contains some wediaba, which is African calabash nutmeg, and some wetia, which is Negro peppers. And I also added in some salt to taste, and a bit of oil just to make this into a lovely paste to rub or to marinate the pork shoulder steak. So you can use any kind of meat you want, from pork or beef steak, whatever, it's your choice. So I used this amount for 1 kg of pork shoulder steak. And here I seasoned 2 kgs of pork shoulder steak. So I made the same quantity of spice mix again and used it to season all the 2 kg of pork shoulder steak. So you find the full list of the ingredients I've used in the description box. So I covered it and then allowed it to season for some couple of hours. If you've got overnight, that will be fantastic. Now onto the potatoes. So Medophapa, this is a tip I like to share with you. If you've got a really slippery worktop like I have, it's always a good idea to put a damp tea towel underneath your chopping board. It really helps it to stay in place. Another kitchen hack I use to reduce mess is to peel my vegetables straight into a polythene bag. You know, one of these shop bags. Yes, I keep them and I use them for purposes like this. So I peeled my potatoes straight into it, and once I was done, it was so easy to clear the place without much stress. Once all the potatoes were done, I washed them under running water, and then I proceeded to cut them up into quarters. Medophapa, thank you for joining me today. I hope you're really taking some notes and enjoying this recipe. So if you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click on that subscription button. And for those who are already subscribed, thank you so much. Now to boil the potatoes, I added in some water, some salt to taste, and some turmeric. This is the secret ingredient that makes the potatoes really nice and golden. So this is another tip that you should use to impress your guest or your family. So the potatoes went on the bowl, and then I went back to my steak, which was ready to be grilled. So here I use my air fryer because it does a quick and fantastic job for me. But equally, you can grill it on your stovetop, bake it or grill it in your oven, or even use a barbecue grill, which will be really fantastic. Thinking about this, that it's almost summer. Yes, this one recipe is good for your barbecue grill. So I use my air fryer, and there's a steak function, so I put it on the steak function, which is at 200 degrees Celsius, and for 10 minutes. So at the end of 10 minutes, look how gorgeous it looked. Crispy on the edges and still nice and juicy. So I went for a well done option. I mean, the 10 minutes makes it really well done, but if you don't want your steak well done, take it halfway. You know, just look how crispy, well cooked, and nice and soft it was. So To also, because I had a big batch to cook, to help maintain the juiciness of the steak, I covered it with some foil, and this traps in the heat and also ensures that the steak is nice and juicy. So I went ahead to finish the rest of the steak. Now on to our veggies for the vegetable sauce. So I used some Pak Choi. Pak Choi is really dirty in the bulb bits, so to clean it, you really need to open it up and wash it thoroughly. I also used some tender stem broccoli, and I cut off a bit of the stem because it was just too long. And I also used some baby sweet corn, some onion, ginger and garlic, some carrots, and some chilies. I mean, these chilies are optional. You can choose to add it or not, but it really adds a lovely kick to the sauce. So here I went ahead to wash the Pak Choi, making sure the bulb bits, the end bits usually has quite a bit of dirt, washing it really well. And then I washed the carrots, the baby corn, the onions, ginger and garlic. So after that, I proceeded to mince my garlic and ginger together. So to mince it, I used my grater, my fine grater. Equally, you could also finely chop it up. It works either way. I love to add ginger and garlic to my stir fries because it gives it a lovely taste, and also the nutritional and health benefits it adds to your sauce is really good. So how much I add depends on my taste preference, but it's also up to you how much or how little you really like, or you can take it out, but I recommend that you add it. So I went ahead to dice my onions, and then the chilies, which is optional. You could finely chop it up or leave it in big chunks to help people see it, so if they don't want the chili, they don't accidentally bite into it. So I chopped up the baby corn as well, and the carrots, and also sliced the Pak Choi into big chunks, not too, I would say medium sizes. It's all up to you. You could even put them in whole or just chop it into half, and it's all good. So here all my veggies were ready. It's important to get your veggies ready because the sauce really goes quickly as you cook. So to this veggies, I added some soy sauce, some oyster sauce, and some cornstarch, which helps to thicken the sauce, and I use sesame oil. Blended, this is blended sesame oil, but you could use toasted sesame oil, which I really love the taste, or you could even use palm kernel oil if you don't have access to toasted sesame oil. So once the oil was heated up, I added in the onion and the chilies and just cooked it for about a minute, just until when the onion started to soften and the aroma started emanating, and it was just this alone was smelling so good. So I then added in the tender broccoli stems and stirred this together just to get the flavors to marry together. Allow this to saute for about a minute before adding in my garlic ginger mix. Also stir this in to help it to coat the veggies and for the flavors to marry together. So about a minute, I could smell the ginger and the garlic, just, you know, the aroma was just so good, and everything was just good. This alone is enough to have as a side dish. and to toss in some spaghetti, but that's not what we are going for today. We are making a veggie sauce. So I added in the corn, the carrots, because these are the hard veggies. If you could use any type of vegetables that you prefer, but if you're using these type of hard veggies, let the hard veggies go in first before you add in the soft vegetables, because they cook quickly. So if you want some nice crunch to the soft vegetables, make sure those go in at the last point. So I added in my Pak Choi, stirred everything together and allowed it to cook for about a minute just to get the flavors to infuse. And then I added in my soy sauce. So this is about 3 tablespoons of soy sauce, and then about 2 tablespoons of oyster sauce, because this sauce is a soy sauce sauce. So quite a bit of soy sauce in there. And also I added some water to the air fryer pan to deglaze it and to get the stock of the steak from it. And then I added it into the veggie sauce. And for the cornstarch, I added in about 2 tablespoons of water, and I mixed it into like a slurry paste, and then added this in. So I used about a tablespoon of cornstarch to make this sauce. I was going for like a light thickness to the sauce. It all depends on how thick or how light you want your sauce to be. So I would say start with a tablespoon at a time of the cornstarch, and then allow it to cook, and then add in a bit more if you want a thicker sauce. So I had a taste to check on the sauce. Everything was good. Remember, I'm using soy sauce, which contains a lot of salt, and then I also added in the stock from the steak, so that also was already spiced enough, so there was no need for salt at this point. I allowed it to cook for about 2 to 3 minutes and it was ready. So here we are, our veggies in soy sauce, ready to go with our potatoes. And yeah, the potatoes were also ready, nice and soft and fluffy, ready to receive the next stage of flavors. So now this is how I added the extra flavors to my potatoes. I added in some freshly crushed black peppers. I recommend that you use a freshly crushed one. It adds a lot of flavor. And I added in some olive oil, just about a tablespoon. And then I also added in some chives. So these were chives from my garden. They survived the winter from last summer, and I was so glad I had it nice and fresh. You could also use, if you don't like chives, you could use parsley, you could use coriander, or even some dried oregano. It also works perfectly. So tossed it around to get everything nicely coated, and it was ready to be served. So here we are. Our steak was also ready, nice and juicy, crunchy on the edges, nice and soft. Well done. You could go for a medium cooked version, but I love my well done steak. And it was crunchy on the edges. It was nice and juicy. Look at the potatoes. They were so nice and fluffy. The aroma, you should have been in my kitchen. Everything was just smelling so good. So it was just ready and ready to tuck in. Thank you for joining me today, Papa. I hope you have really enjoyed this recipe and you are going to try it. Don't forget to share some photos with me. I can be reached on Instagram. On my website, there's a WhatsApp link. Send me some photos, or just, comment on the YouTube channel here. Don't forget to subscribe as well if you haven't done so, and turn on your notification button. See you in my next video.